Hello and welcome back to my channel. Here we are today with the NCAA Outdoor Championship preview. This is the men's version, and the men's competition takes place Wednesday and Friday. And so without further ado, we'll get started right away, and we'll start off with the sprints. We'll look right at the 100. We have a great field. There's a tough preliminary heat, or I guess I'll say semifinal heat, heat three, where it looks like there are three athletes in that race that run sub 10. Getting to the final is going to be tough, but I have three known competitors that I think will be there um, primarily to compete for the title. I have Jordan Anthony of Arkansas, and he's had a phenomenal outdoor season, and this is fresh off his indoor championship where he won the 60-meter indoors. He is a football player for Arkansas, so there's no guarantee that we're going to see him post this championship meet. But I think with 9.75 barely win legal and him easing up, I think there's definitely 9.7 speed in that leg win legal. And I think we're possibly looking at, you know, someone that's going to put up a mark like Don Sewell did for LSU all those years, a mark that's going to sit there for a while. And I'm picking Jordan Anthony right now. I'm going to mention the other competitors to be my favorite to win. Also, I think a challenger will be Abdul Saminu. Abdul Rashid Saminu of South Florida. I think that this outdoor season, he's been sensational. He's been the catalyst to lead South Florida. They're I think the top sprint program in the state of Florida right now. It isn't the Gators, it isn't the Seminoles, it isn't the Hurricanes, it's South Florida. He's a big part of that. He has a win legal now, 9.86. I think we're definitely going to see him in championship season. And when I mean championship, I'm talking about international competition. I think he is going to represent his country. He is one of the top young African sprinters, and African sprinters are having a phenomenal year, not just in NCAA, but worldwide. And I think we're going to have a very interesting conversation come August and September when we look at the talent that's competing. Another big name, I think, in this race is Kalen Walker of Iowa. He kind of gets ignored because he is the Big Ten guy, and I need for us to put some respect in the Big Ten. Iowa has been producing great sprinters. They've got an Olympic medalist in Brittany Brown in the 200. So no more ignoring the real talent that's coming out of the Big 110. That's before USC and UCLA and Washington and Oregon join. There is talent there. And again, I do think my favorite to win will be Jordan Anthony. In the 200, joining Jordan Anthony, we have Makanakashi Charamba of Auburn. And he just has had an incredible outdoor season. And I'm not shocked because he is a tall, lanky sprinter. He runs the curb pretty well. But the 200-meter track indoors is really tight. And for those taller sprinters, it can be difficult. Um, Outdoors is where they will flourish, and he has been flourishing already under 20 seconds multiple times this season. Has a barely win date at 19.79, but he does unfortunately already on the season have a loss to young Jordan Anthony. So we'll see what happens. And then also joining them, I have Garrett Kaloon of USC, who is a transfer from Nebraska. And again, nothing wrong with the athletes transferring, whether we like it or not as fans. It has to work for their better interests, and has worked for him. He has been an outstanding sprinter for USC. I think he is the fastest, if not number two all time for USC, and that's a school with a pretty amount of Olympic gold medalists, some great historic sprinters, some great historic football players who did run track. So Garrett Colund, I think, is going to be there in the end. He's also top five in the 400, so he has the endurance to hang on. But my pick again is Jordan Anthony. I think he is going to pull off the incredible double. I think this will be sort of a national coming out party. I think, not as many outside of the sport of track and field are fully aware of him. He is a football player, a little on the shorter side, so we'll see what happens with his post track career. I hope that he really does consider track and field. What an outstanding sprinter I think he is. He's just naturally lighted running and just very fleet of foot. I really want to see what he can do with a full season under his belt. I'm moving to the 400. We have Samuel Ghazi of Alabama. I think he kind of got ignored. And part of that is because he has been very quiet. And I think that was intentional on his part. He has uh, goals and desires beyond the collegiate season. He is going to be Nigeria's top representative in the Open 400. Not going to say that he's a medal contender. We don't know yet because we don't know what he can fully do. He's ran the 44.4, but that was at the regional meet and that was with, later postseason training. And we don't know if he was injured because it's been very quiet on his front. But now he's come back, and he was the top returnee, but had been quiet. So we can't ignore that. The top guy, Makai Danzi of Florida State, is another footballer. Football players having a year. Um, and again, he's from Florida State, not Florida. And he's setting a school record, a school that has produced Olympic athletes in that event. To think that he's the top one, and he's just a freshman, and he doesn't really know what he doesn't know yet. And I think, although he has the top time, I think the race is going to be between him, Samuel Ghazi, and then, of course, a guy that I love on this channel, Ahmad Robinson of Texas A&M. Ahmad has been, to me, a little up and down this season. He's still been a phenomenal anchor. Again, you can look at his videos on my channel. He did it again at the Penn Relays. Oh, he's so great to watch as an anchor. He just seems to get what's needed to be a great anchor, and he really does entertain the crowd with his anchoring. I think he's going to be there. He does have a 44.6, but he's been up and down in the open and against major competition. He's had moments of great performances in the Open 400 outdoors, but he's also had some disappointing marks. My pick is Samuel Ogazi. I think he is going to win it. I think he has the most fresh legs between the three of them, and I think he's rounding into great form. I think it's going to be a 44 low needed to win. So I'm thinking between 44.0 and 44.2 to win the 400. Now, moving to the hurdles. Got some interesting stories developing here. In the high hurdles, you have Kendrick Smallwood of Texas has kind of found his rhythm. And not to say that he didn't have any, but it just it felt as if his technique wasn't as flawless as it was when he was in high school. I saw him run in high school, and you could see that on this channel way back in 2022. He just had phenomenal technique, and that's one of his big strengths. He has speed, but his technique is just literally flawless, and he really knows how to get over and get down off those hurdles. And it seemed to come together this year. He hasn't lost yet. He's been just dynamite. He has wins against pretty much everyone I'm going to name as a contender. And it is, all SEC. And this is, I'm not trying to show favoritism, but I'm literally going on time and performance. But I think that he really has been the cream of the crop. There is Jacoby Tharp, who had a phenomenal year last year as a freshman. I'm not saying he's experiencing the sophomore blues, but he's noticeably, uh, in my opinion, he hasn't been as sharp as he was last year. I think that's going to change because what I saw from regionals told me in the final regional round, I think that he's ready to put up another PR in the 110 hurdles, and I think that's what it's going to take to win. Also in the field, you have Jaqueline Scott of Texas A&M, uh, and he's not only a competitor in the high hurdles, but he's also going to be a competitor in the 400 hurdles. Although he's not one of my predictees of top times or winning the championship. I think he's amongst the contenders for the high hurdles. This is going to be a great field. All three of these gentlemen are capable of 13-1. And although Kendrick has had the year that he's had, I'm actually going to lean on Jacoby. I think that Jacoby Tharp, at the NCAA meet last year, he had an introduction to us all, and we thought that he was going to win it as a freshman. Darius Love pulled it out in the end. I think he's learned from that, and I think he's rounding into shape at the right time. Now, would I be shocked if Kendrick or Jaqueline won? Absolutely not. That's the reason why they're being mentioned here. But I'm going to ride with Jacoby. Then on the 400 hurdles, you have quite an impressive field. There were a few big names that did not make it. but it's still an impressive field. You have obviously Nathaniel Ezekiel of Baylor, who has ran the sub 48-second 400 hurdle this year. He is the NCAA leader and the new record holder for the country of Nigeria. So we know we're going to see him come World Championship time. And he's been a revelation for Baylor because this year they did not look like the school that has been among the elite 400-meter runners for all those years. It's kind of just been him and a bunch of guys because he gets the baton almost always in the back. And he finds the way to either end it with them winning or at least amongst the top three. They have respectable times in their relays because of him. He really has been a revelation for them, and he's been a true anchor and an outstanding 400 runner and hurdler for Baylor. His biggest competition, I think, is going to come from a very talented freshman, Saad Hinty, or excuse me, Hinty of Tennessee. He's got a 48.4 personal best, and he did what needed to be done to qualify to get to the championship meet. I still think he's a freshman that's learning and doesn't know what he doesn't know yet, but we're going to find out this week. And I think another big name was another Texas guy, and Texas having a great year with their hurdlers. You have Cody Blackwood, and I had thought that that was Kendrick in one of my earlier videos of the outdoor season, and someone corrected me and said, "Hey, no, you're getting them mixed up. That is definitely Cody Blackwood," and it is him, and he's had a great year as well for the Texas Longhorns, and he is amongst one of the best 400 hurdlers. But I do think in this race we're going to rock with Nathaniel. I don't see how you can't. That 47.9, he's now amongst the elite all-time 400 hurdlers for NCAA. And I think Karan Clements and Benny Brazil, who is now coach Benny Brazil, former LSU star, now the LSU Sprints coach. And then you have, of course, the NCAA record holder, Ryan Benjamin. They've kind of held the top three spots by themselves for a long time. I think there's a potential that Nathaniel joins them and knocks one of those three out. Not Rye, but I think there's a possibility that Mr. Benny could be knocked down. And now moving to the relay, great relay racing. And I'm less confident about this than any other because the men's 4x1 to me is a crapshoot. I get it. South Florida has ran 38.05. And when I did the recap, I thought, oh, they're odds on favorite. I'm like, no, we really can't ignore Auburn or Tennessee. We really can't. We really can't. 38.05 for South Florida, 38.2 Auburn, I believe 38.2 as well for Tennessee. It's going to take a sub 38, in my opinion, to win. I think one of these schools will be joining the Florida Gators and the LSU Tigers as the sub 38 school. And we'll be having a real interesting discussion because I'm actually going to pick, drum roll, I'm going to pick Auburn. I know I'm not picking Tennessee or South Florida, and South Florida does look so good, but I'm going to roll with Auburn. Uh, I don't know why. I just feel that Coach Leroy Burrell is like, you guys are way too talented. We have a sub 100, sub 10-second 100-meter guy, a sub 20-second uh, 200-meter guy, and two other guys that can run 10-0. We definitely should be sub 38. He's ran with that same level of talent before himself and has run sub 38 as a pro. So we'll see. The 4x4, it's Florida, Texas A&M, and South Florida. I'm curious to see what happens with Florida. Justin Braun did injure himself at that LSU meet late, or either it was late April or early May, and that's the reason why he just wasn't himself at the SEC championships, and that was disappointing. And he wasn't able to move on in the 400 at regionals, and that's sad because injuries have plagued his career. And I really do feel that Florida was a great decision for him because for a while he looked like he was really cranking it. He had looked better than he had at any other time, I think, in his history. But I think he's going to represent very well. And hopefully he runs the 4x4. If he runs the 4x4, I think they are probably going to win it. I think Texas A&M and South Florida are going to be tough to beat. A healthy Florida team, to me, wins it. If it's not, then I think Texas A&M. But I think it'll be a sub 3 minute time that gets the job done. All right, and we've finished the sprints and hurdles. Let's move on to the distance events, and we'll start things right away with the 800. and we'll look at what I think is a really dominant field. We got Christian Jackson of Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech really putting out those 800 runners. We thought it was just the women, and then last year we were introduced to Nicholas Plan, and he's going to be in this field. So, but his teammate Christian Jackson is the leader. He has the 144 on the season. I think he is going to be there when it comes to who do we consider the champion uh, after running a time of 144. Who do we consider a champion capable of beating that? I don't think there's anybody in the field. I know I'm giving it away. I think he's gonna win it. I'm just gonna tell you now. When I saw him run that 144.8, I was like, I gotta see this race, and I looked at it online, and I thought, because trying to watch the SEC, the Big Ten meet, and the ACC meet all at one time is you're gonna fail. And I failed. I missed his 800. But when I finally saw the replay, I thought, who's gonna outdo that? He looks great, and he's kind of coming on at the right time. But I think in his field, we have Tanada Matsatsa of Georgetown, who, to be fair, has been the favorite of this channel. He held the NCAA lead for about a good 80% of the season. 145.0. I saw him in person at the Penn Relays. You can see a video of that on this channel. He can show up and show out, but I don't know if he has a 144 in him. We'll see. I think this is going to be a great 800 race. It's going to take 144, I believe, to win, all weather considering. Another guy I think capable of doing that is Sam Whitmarsh of Texas A&M. Those are the three gentlemen that I think that'll be in it to win it in the 800. But like I said, I am fully convinced it'll be Christian, and I think he's gonna improve upon that 144.8 that he's already ran, and he's probably gonna run a 144 mid or a 144 low. And we may see two guys go sub 145. I think we're in for a great race. Hopefully, there is, all three make it to the final. And I'm not here looking stupid. It's happened, but I think this will be a great race for us. So those of us who love the 800, will be eating good here. And moving to the men's mile, although he probably wasn't going to work here, I want to address the fact that there is no Parker Wolf in any of the distance events. He did officially end his career at North Carolina, and that's just sad. I have loved watching him run, and I've shared my very high thoughts of him on this channel. He's been an outstanding distance runner for North Carolina, and kind of the reason why they have this glow about them, this respect. They are one of the new distance powers in the country. He was the big time recruit to help lead them to that way. But it's his teammate, I think, that leads the 1500. That's Ethan Strand. I think that he is one of the preeminent 1500-meter runners this year. He's been dominant from indoors to out. And I think he's going to continue that well into his career. He is, I think, a revelation for many of us who enjoy watching the mile. Uh, to see him just float past some of the biggest names in the sport with ease, quite impressive. I think he does better running on his own than running on a relay. But what an outstanding miler I think he is. And I think his biggest competition is going to come, of course, from Gary Martin of Virginia. And Gary has had an incredible career. Gary is better with the relay baton in his hand because he likes to chase. And he's been the person to reel in Ethan Strand over and over again. But when they're lined up, mano a mano, it's been Ethan. And ACC having a year with their distance runners, leading the way in the 800 and in the mile. Also in that field, you have Liam Murphy of Villanova. Liam has been really good over the course of his career, but this year he's been exceptional. Saw him in person at the Penn Relays, and he also ran a great anchor leg. I'm curious to see what he does because he's kind of not had to run against regular competition the same way that the guys in the ACC have had. Villanova in the Big East, he's kind of been the guy. And granted, he's going up against the Georgetown guys, but I don't think any of them in the mile can hang with him. So, Liam is a name that we can't ignore. But my favorite, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to go with Gary. I know I just greased the heck out of Ethan's scalp, but I really do think Gary is ready. All those times of reeling him in. Square one for the Virginia guy. Now moving to the 5K, and what a field. Woo! You start things off with Hampton Samuel of New Mexico. New Mexico clearly not afraid to mix it up with the big time programs because they are a big time program, if we're being all fair. They may not be in a big time conference, but they are a big time program capable of producing many champions. And I think he's going to be one of their next ones. Hampton has, some championship trophy hardware in his trophy case, and what a strong outdoor season he's having. He is going to attempt a really tough double, a 5K and a 10K. It's been a while since I think a man has been able to do it. I think he is really asking a lot of himself, but I think he should feel more confident in the 5K. I think he is one of the clear favorites there. Also, you have the indoor champion, Brian Musau of Oklahoma State. He's going to be there. Um, and I hate that I did not predict him indoors. I should have seen it coming, but I was fully convinced of Hampton indoors, but Brian Musau just and representing OK State, which it's been a little quiet this indoor season. Not the dominant season that they've had indoors as one of the preeminent distance powers they've had over the years, but they're still capable, and he's proof of that, and he's capable. Also in that 5K, you got Matt Strangio of Portland. I believe I mentioned him here. Yes, a Portland guy, not an Oregon guy, even though Portland is there in Oregon. But he really has quietly gone about his business because he is not in a big conference. He doesn't always get the look. But you can't ignore the Portland guys because they've been able to produce top tier talent, and he's the next guy in line. I think he's going to be amongst the top three competitors when it's all said and done. But I am going to pick the indoor guy, Brian Musau, to win it. Now, moving to the 10K, Hampton Samuel is there in the 10K trying to compete, but you have Evans Kurui of Washington State by way of Kenya. He is a really talented youngster. I think we're going to be hearing his name many times for years to come. And no surprise, Washington State, first Bernard Lagat, but now him, seem to find those distance runners uh, on their lonesome, but can still produce champions. Then you have another New Mexico talent, Ishmael Kipkiru again of New Mexico. I think he is a strong competitor to potentially win it. Um, I'm actually going to surprise you guys, and I'm going to say this is the event that Hampton wins. We're going to say he wins the 10K. This is a tough field, but I wouldn't put it past him to win it. Hampton is a talented runner. I think he's going to have a really hard time winning that 5K. I think the 5K field is a lot tougher than the 10K field. And now moving to our last distance event, you have the steeplechase, and this is sort of a freshman situation we got going on. All freshmen. So if that makes you disappointed, you can go ahead and skip to the next event. But we're going to talk about Matthew Koskai of course, New Mexico. Yes, we've talked about quite a few New Mexico talented guys. They're going to score, I think, a lot of points within those three events. And they're not going to threaten for the team title, I think, just yet. But they potentially have that ability to do what Stanford did in 2000. When I was in the eighth grade, Stanford carried a phenomenal distance program. Um, and they used their distance points to lead them to a national title. And we know Arkansas has done that for years on the men's side, but Arkansas has also been well balanced. They've always had great jumpers, and they've always added some decent sprinters, and now they've added the ability to hurdle and have great pole vaulters as well. But in the steeplechase, you have Matthew Koskai of New Mexico, and then you also have Jeffrey Kerwa of Louisville. He's going to be there. He's also been a name this outdoor season. And this is an event where we're looking for the next star. So one of these three freshmen, I think, will be the next one, and I think he's a serious contender. He's in the tougher the conference in the ACC. But again, we can't put too much pressure on just that because New Mexico can hang with the bigger conferences. And then also you have Collins Kiprop Kicknock of Kentucky. They're one of those super freshmen. He's going to be there as well. He's also competing in a tougher conference. Although I don't think the SEC, in regards to distance, even though Arkansas is in there and so is Texas, are they as tough as the ACC? I'm not so sure. But I think he's a name that we can't ignore as well. But my favorite to win this race is definitely Matthew Koskai of New Mexico. I think He has looked the most uh, dominant. He's looked the best all outdoor season, regardless of who he's competed against. And he's broken records a couple of times. So, and as a freshman, and he seems very comfortable and very poised and ready to do it come outdoor championship. Now, moving away from distance, let's move into the field events and we'll get things started right away with one of my favorite field events, the high jump. You have Tyus Wilson, yes, my guy. I have shared with you he is one of my favorite high jumpers, and he's been great all year long. Of Nebraska, Nebraska, probably the best technical school of field events when it comes to coaching. And he's going to be there. This is not to me a very deep high jump field, but I think this is a strong one. I think he's the strongest of all the high jumpers representing the Big Ten. He is, I'm going to call it early, my favorite to win the high jump. Competing against him, you have Ryan Rankin of Georgia. And Ryan is having a great outdoor season representing the Bulldogs and a part of their team title hopes because they're going to be in it to win it. And then you have Scotty Vines, the young transfer who's doing well at Arkansas. At one point, Scotty was my favorite indoors before Tyus kind of took the reins back. This is a really great field, but I think that, again, Tyus Wilson is the guy in the high jump. Now, moving to the pole vault, where things will get a little interesting. You have Alexander Solovev of Texas A&M. He is, been the favorite all year long, and this is an event where we're trying to find the new star. And I think it's really been him. He's been the most consistent outdoors, competed it well against a lot of the top competition. We'll see what happens come championship time, but I think he might be the guy. So I'm gonna, like I did the high jump, predict early and go with him. You have Logan Hammer of Utah State, another competitor that I think this should do well. And again, this is a really strong field. And although he's at a smaller school, I think when it comes to the field events, that doesn't matter because their marks are what's going to carry them. And then, of course, you have one of the Gooderson twins, Seaman Gooderson of Duke. Um, if you would have asked me to do a preview, he would have been my favorite at the beginning of the season, but it's really been Alexander all year long outdoors. He's been the most consistent. I wouldn't be shocked if Seaman won, but let's ride with Alexander. Now, moving to the long jump, you have a really strong field, including a defending champion, J.C. Stevenson, but he's not the favorite going in. That's actually Charles Godfrey of Minnesota. He is one of the best long jumpers we've seen come out of the Big Ten ever. And I'm talking about traditional Big Ten before the merger of the West Coast schools. And what a year that Minnesota's having with their jumpers. They have a top triple jumper as well. You also have the national leader Lokesh Satyanathan of Tarleton State. Yes, I know Tarleton State, smaller school, but Tarleton State is not playing around. They're recruiting well and they're developing well. We need to get familiar with that school, like we've getting familiar with New Mexico. Let's start getting familiar with Tarleton State. And then, of course, again, you have the favorite um, J.C. Stevenson, and I'm saying he's the favorite in as regards to me. He's defending champion, and in my opinion, he is the best chance that I see of a defending champion winning. He has been inconsistent, to say the least, in the long jump this whole year, but he was that way last year and surprised us winning the national title. I think he's going to do that again. I think he is the favorite to win it secretly, even though Charles Godfrey, who shocked everybody with his regional mark, you've got Lokish, who leads the nation. He hasn't had a jump like that since then. But to me, it's J.C. Stevenson. We're going to ride with him. Then the triple jump, one of my favorites leads the country still. You have Brandon Green of Oklahoma. And Brandon casually jumped 55 feet at the regional meeting. I thought, go, Brandon, go. Leading the way for Oklahoma, which is possibly going to pull off a men's and women's sweep. We'll see. Yeah, Oklahoma producing the really good jumpers. And then you have Hakeem Ford of Minnesota, part of that 1-2 Minnesota punch. He was a surprise for me at the regional because I honestly did not pay him much attention, but he made sure that I knew who he was with those marks. He casually jumped 54 feet, and I was like, I think he could probably even jump further than that if he really wanted to push it. He just was trying to qualify. Then you have Selva Prabhu of Kansas State, and you're going to be hearing about Kansas State. So get used to it in the future. The coaches that were coaching all those great triple jumpers at Arkansas are now there at Kansas State. And so and they already started with their recruiting. They've got the top triple jumper for the women's, or from girls from Stets out of Jamaica. She's already jumping 43 feet. I think she's probably going to jump 44 come World Junior Championship time. Man, are they getting started, and he's sneaky good. Selva Prabhu, so we can't be shocked if he pulls it out. I'm gonna go with my guy Brendan Green. I've been riding him all outdoor season. I'm gonna stick with him. But Selva, I see you. I see what you're trying to do. You and those Kansas State guys. You're not fooling me. I know good coaching. And that's our jumps recap. Let's move to the throws. And we have some great throwing in the shot put that's happened this year. Tariq Robinson O'Hagan. We've mentioned him so many times, not just me, but all those who cover the sport, all the journalists. It's a constant where he's just having a year. There's nobody on his level in this event. He has been consistently dominant no matter who has showed up. He has defeated them. And he does have a tough field to defeat. Jason Swearens of Wisconsin is going to be there. He has led the Big Ten. He has been comfortably out front all year long, and he's going to be there against Tariq at the championship. And a name that I mention a lot on this channel, not just because he's from Michigan, because he finds a way to put up a good mark. And that's Christopher Licata of South Carolina. We're looking at a really good field here in the shot put. So we're going to get a special mark, I believe, whether acting right. And I still trust Tariq. Until someone takes him down, he's the guy. And I don't think anyone is. As great as Jason is, as great as Christopher is, I think it is Tariq. I'm moving to the discus throw. We're in a similar situation with Mikolas Alekna, who we're waiting for the ratification of his world record. And although he's an Olympic silver medalist, I think he's a future Olympic gold medalist. That's in his blood. He has represented Cal so well, and Cal has been really good at developing great discus throwers. He's really just been a sensation to watch. He to me is so far ahead of the competition, it's not even funny. I don't even see any of the other competitors I'm going to name here really threatening him. I think they're pushing for stuff to find out who's going to be second. And that is Ralford Mullins of Oklahoma, talented discus thrower. Um, and I do think that he will be a threat in the future once Mikolas moves on to the professional ranks full time. And then his fellow countryman, Trevor Gunzel of Alabama, because both of them are from Jamaica. Um, Trevor Gunzel of Alabama in a very tough SEC against Ralford Mullins. You're looking at a really strong discus throwing field for seconds. Again, I am rocking with Mikolas. Now, moving to the hammer throw. And will all the men with Greek names please stand up? Because what a strong field. And I think the Greeks are going to have some talent come outdoor championship time for world championship. Let's start with Angelos Matsourounis of Minnesota. And Minnesota really developing some great throwers. I'm still shocked that Shelby Frank left and went to Texas Tech. I think she could have stayed. I think she would be an odds-on favorite in her event. But he's a big name, and he's led the way for majority of the outdoor season. You also have his teammate Costas Saltis of Minnesota, and as I said, Minnesota really doing a great job developing the throwers. He's the next sort of big guy uh, outside of Angelos, and I think that they're going to create a one-two punch. Although Tariq is here, I think it is between the Minnesota guys for winning, and I'm going to rock with Costas. Surprise, not going to go with Angelos. I'm going to rock with Costas to win it. And after that, we'll go to the javelin, and what an interesting field this is. Um, I think there's two strong names, and then a field of not necessarily regular average talent, but we're trying to find out who's going to be someone that can hang with the two big guns. And the two big guns I have are DeVoe Diesel of Miami. Yes, Miami putting up a thrower. Uh, he's kind of led the way for a significant portion of the outdoor season. I want to say since mid-April, he's been the guy. And then also you have from Nebraska, Keyshawn Strachan of by way of the Bahamas. He's an interesting name simply because he did transfer from Nebraska. I mean, not from Nebraska, from Auburn to Nebraska, and Nebraska has produced a really great set of javelin throwers. Most notably, Rima Odobor, who was the NCAA champion the last two outdoor seasons for women. I'm gonna go with him winning. And I think the guy that we're looking to come out of the mud is Lico Cabrera Gay of Florida. He's gotten better each meet. The better the competition, the better he throws. And I still think he's trying to find his way. But past couple of years, Florida guys have shown up at the championship meet, and they've won three in a row. I don't think they're winning a fourth. They have too many injuries, and they just don't have the talent this year. They have a great recruiting class coming in of young freshmen, but I think they don't have enough to compete. But I think he is going to be there to hang with the big guns. And then our final event, the decathlon. What a fun event this has become over the years because we had really good decathlon throwers like a Carl Garland, who's not just a great thrower but a great runner and hurdler. You had Leo Neusbauer. You had some really really good decathletes recently. But this year you have Till Steinforth of Nebraska, and Till is a name that I've mentioned a couple of times on this channel. Finally happy to mention him in a preview. And not only do you have him, you also have the young man Peyton Bear of Mississippi State. And Peyton is, of course, the older brother of Gatlin Bear. But Peyton is the indoor champion of the multi-event. And we'll see if he can carry it outdoors. But Till Steinforth has scored more points. But that changes when you're going up against top competition. And Peyton has been able to knock down all competition. Then another name that we can't ignore because he's kind of burst on the scene is Brad Thomas of UC Santa Barbara. I don't think I've ever mentioned UC Santa Barbara here, but here we are. And you see in that picture, he has over 8,000 points as well. And I think it's going to take 8,000 points to win this because what a group this is going to be. But I am going to lean on Peyton Bear winning the decathlon. And then finally, our team battle, I think it is between USC, Arkansas, and I'm going to throw a name in here to surprise you all. I'm putting the Georgia Bulldogs. I know they're going to be there for the women, but I think they're also there for the men. But I am trusting that with their many abilities to score, I think it'll be Arkansas again. It's going to be hard to knock them off. I think they have a lot of places to score. They have Tyrese Taylor and Rivaldo Marshall, who are going to be in the 800. And they can disrupt that 1-2-3 that I've got planned because, again, it doesn't go as planned. But they have two guys that are capable of not only scoring, but potentially shocking the field and winning. Then they're going to have a great set of sprinters in the 100, the 200, and the 400. They have really good relays. They have a great milers, well, not a great miler, but a decent miler, 5K, 10K, steeplechase, and the field events. They've got a lot of room to score. So we'll see. But they are my favorite to win the men's team title. And I think USC will be second. But that is the end of our video, this very long video. Thank you for sticking with me. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I want to discuss this with you all before we do the women's preview, which will be coming out tomorrow. But please share. Let's chat because we're gonna be treated to a really great meet. I think we've got some great competition lined up, great international competition, and this could be seen as a preview to Worlds and the future of the sport, as it always has been. But thank you so much for supporting me, and I look forward to speaking to you guys in the women's preview.